It was cloudy, kind of cloudy, and the wind was blowing.
Hello. Can I get a signal?
Is it dead? The keyboard power. You want to plug it before I start the other one? Good. That didn't sound good.
Nope.
Pop. Uh-oh. Did we just blow the power? Nope. Yep. Okay.
Rows and flows of angel hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, dizzy dancing where you feel when every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let 'em know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads and say I've changed. Something's lost but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
Bravo, Sydney. Good morning. Thank you. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Alan Jenkins, and I serve as president-elect on the Board of Trustees of this Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. Forgot the name of the place, sorry. Welcome to everyone, whether you are joining us in person or online. You are valued and you are loved, and we are delighted to have you here with us this morning. If you are a visitor with us this morning, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us at home, you can fill out an online visitor form by going to the UUCS website and clicking on the Visitors, Friends, and Members tab. The form is located on the top of that webpage. If you're visiting during the today's special outdoor service, I'm sitting right back there. Come say hey. Our flowers this morning are given by Jean Snipes in memory of her husband, Dr. Gary Snipes. Dr. Snipes had a huge impact on this church and on the greater Spartanburg community. Thank you for this beautiful presentation of flowers in honor of such a beautiful man, Jean. This fall, some of our worship services have taken place outdoors. We hope to be able to do this one more Sunday, next week on November 21st. God willing and the creek don't rise. Bring a chair and join us right here in this beautiful sacred grove. The service will also be live streamed. In case of inclement weather, we will move the service indoors and over live stream as well. Come on, get happy. I heard that in a Partridge Family voice. Mary Underwood will lead 3 classes to help get us through the holiday season this tough year. Her teachings and techniques will help us go beyond just coping with stress and pain to regaining our balance and, yes, our happiness. Mary's enthusiasm, experience, and education all make her the perfect person for this, and we are grateful that she is donating these 3 classes to us. Thank you, Mary. This group will meet today in the Fellowship Hall at 2 p.m. and will gather again in December and January on dates to be announced. If you haven't registered, do so now. 10 people have registered and we can have a total of 15 in the class. Remember that on November 20th at 3 p.m. we will hold the annual UUCS auction outside. I know, right? I'm really excited. That's November 20th at 3 p.m. Saturday, yep. November 20th, is that? Yep, next Saturday. Thank you. I'm totally not landing that plane. It is outside, yes. It's outside on November 20th at 3 p.m. Thank you. Check your happenings for more information or see Lee Jenkins or Virginia McLean, our esteemed auction co-chairs. And now, Scott calls her my higher power. Our girls call her mom. I just call her amazing. Here's my wife, Lee Jenkins, to share more about the auction.
Good morning, y'all. Should tell you something about our relationship. Alan has the fancy tablet. I have a notebook from when I was in high school. So, like he said, our auction will be this Saturday, November 20th. It's going to start about 3 p.m. Out in the church parking lot. So bring your chairs, bring blankets. In the case of inclement weather, we might move indoors or we might move to December. It kind of depends on how bad it's going to be. So just keep an eye on your emails in the UUCS Facebook page if you see that the weather might be kind of iffy. Today is the last day we're taking any kind of donations. If you have anything and haven't spoken to me yet, either through the online form or email or call, please see me sometime today or give me a call. Our online auction will begin Wednesday morning and it's going to close Friday evening at 8 p.m. We have a lot of fantastic packages from different places around our community. Little River roasting packages. We have a Mama Sue's gift card. We also have a snowman cookie cutter package that Ruth Stanton put together. So take a look. It's going to be some different items that we've never had at our auction before. And then on Saturday, come join us at 3. We'll have, like Virginia said last week, Sweets on the Run will be here with desserts. We'll also have beer and wine and soft drinks offered as usual. Bring your own snacks if you'd prefer. At 3 o'clock, you can come, set up, mingle. We'll also have 20 or so raffle items. You can buy your raffle tickets, bid on the items you want. We have different art, a vase and glass set, a hot chocolate set. Like I said, lots of items that anybody can enjoy. There will also be childcare, so bring the whole family. Kids are allowed to bid on the raffle items if you want to buy raffle tickets for your kids. We'll also, as we have in the past, have different events provided by members of our community, such as meals and activities. So make sure to sign up for those. And then at 4, we will start the live auction. We have the vacation homes. There is leadership classes, which a little birdie has told me the UUCS leadership team would be very thrilled if somebody purchased and then gifted to the leadership team. Very popular, you get to pick a topic for a sermon from Scott, and we'll also have a surprise item. So if you're here in person, you'll get to hear about that. And we have one surprise item that I'm going to reveal right now that I did not warn him I'm going to do this. So I hope I don't get in trouble, Scott. But he has offered to run or possibly walk a mile for every $50 that you donate. Yes! So we are going to do a sign-up sheet, and we are going to get Scott in shape by running and walking as many miles as we can. So, if you are not going to be at the auction and you want to do this, please see me. You can either email me at auctionuucs.org, call me, see me after service, just flag me down, come to my house, we will get you signed up to walk or run with Scott. He's very excited, I can see it. So I hope to see you Saturday, and everybody have a great day.
It will be, Jinx. Come join me. Your dog can join us, Jinx. We'll do half price for animals. I love that Lee and Alan are wearing matching sweaters, color coordinated, and I'm sure their calendars will be as well. Thank you for what your family is doing. All that your family is doing. What a beautiful morning. It is a gift of my work that when I pull in this parking lot, I come down this road and I get to see this line of trees here at the bottom of this green space. And I was here yesterday for an event, and these trees were fuller of leaves and brighter in color. They've turned in the night. And this ginkgo tree right over the top of the tree looks so beautiful against the pure blue sky. It will drop its leaves in a golden circle just in the next week or so. Really are at the turning of the year. And I know that it's a colder morning than it was the last time we gathered out here. And this will not last. We won't be able to do this much longer. It is. It's cold, Jinx. Spring will come, but not yet. But what a beautiful morning it has become to be in the sunshine. Let's just take a moment and enjoy the beauty of this place. Talking about sharing this month. Yesterday we shared our campus with one of our community partners, Speaking Down Barriers, held an annual event called Transformation Day. This year most of it was online. Last year was all virtual. This is a day of art when black artists, trans artists, poets, filmmakers, visual artists, women artists are centered, and they share their work without any barriers, no limits on what they can share. And then community dialogue about what they share. It is a powerful event that pulls the organization and people who are part of the organization forward for the whole year because of the power of what's shared. And there's always food that's shared as well. So this year, we were planning the event in the middle of the Delta surge. We decided we'd do a food pickup. We did want to offer food this year, which we couldn't do last year. And so all through the day yesterday, members of the community were coming through this facility, picking up food that had been prepared by chefs, food as art. Chicken with beans and rice and a mushroom sauce, cooked by a Haitian chef. Mofongo and collards, cooked by a man of Puerto Rican and African American descent. all day people coming through, experiencing these trees and the beauty of the space, seeing the artwork by Dr. Snipes in the sanctuary, and other artwork that was presented, picking up this food. And at the end of the day, it's a little bit left, not a lot. And the leadership team said, what should we do with this? What do we do with it? They took the cookies and walked them across the street to that house where there were kids playing in the yard. Shared the cookies with our neighbors. But there were a few last servings of the chicken and a sauce, the beans and rice, and a few remaining servings of the fungo, which is a plantain mash, and the collards, some meat and some vegetarian. And at the end of the service, they'll be on that little table back there. We're going to bring the chicken out of the refrigeration right at the end of the service. The vegetarian servings, which will be fine for the hour, are already out there. So we want to invite you to enjoy what Speak Now Barriers wants to share with us, and to leave some for the person behind you as well. But it's beautiful food, so rich in history and culture, and just humanity. People invest their time in us, like the Jenkins have done. And people who create beauty, the people who have tended these trees for so long. And the invitation to share that with each other. And the further beauty that creates for us all and in us all. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning. The lighting of the chalice today is found in our hymnal, number 584, but it's also in your order of service, and I would love for you to join me, and we do this responsibly. It's from Martin Luther King Jr., and is a network of mutuality. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
Now that your big eyes are finally opened, now that you're wondering how must they feel, meaning you've chased them across America's movie screens, now that you're wondering how can it be real that the ones that you've called colorful, noble, and proud in your school propaganda, they starve in their splendor. You asked for our comment, I simply will render. My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. Now that the longhouses breed superstition, you force us to send our toddlers away to your schools were they taught to despise their traditions, forbid them languages. Further, you say that American history really began when Columbus set sail out of Europe and stressed that the nation of leeches that conquered this land are the biggest and bravest and boldest and best. And then where in your history books yet is the tale of the genocide basic to this country's birth, of the preachers who lied, how the Bill of Rights failed, how a nation of patriots returned to their earth? And where will it tell of the Liberty Bell as it rang with a thud over Kinzua mud, and of brave Uncle Sam in Alaska this year? My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. Hear how the bargain was made for the West, with her shivering children and 0 degrees. Blankets for your land, so the treaties attest. Oh, well, blankets for land is a bargain indeed. And those blankets were those Uncle Sam had collected from smallpox disease, dying soldiers that day. And the tribes were wiped out and the history books censored. 100 years of your statesmen felt it's better this way. Yet a few of the conquered have somehow survived. Their blood runs the redder, though their genes have been paled. From the Grand Canyon's caverns to Craven's sad hills, the wounded, the losers, the robbed sing their tale. From Los Angeles County to upstate New York, the white nation fattens while others grow lean. Oh, the tricked and evicted, they know what I mean. My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. The past, it just crumbled, the future just threatens. Our lifeblood shut up in your chemical tanks. And now here you come, bill of sale in your hand, and surprise in your eyes that we're lacking in thanks for the blessings of civilization that you've brought us, the lessons you've taught us, and the ruins you've wrought us. Oh, see what our trust in America's brought us. My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying. Now that the pride of our sires received charity, now that we're harmless and safe behind laws, now that my life's to be known as your heritage, now that the graves even now have been robbed, now that our own chosen way is a novelty, hands on our hearts, we salute your victory. Choke on your blue, white, and scarlet hypocrisy, pitying the blindness that you never see, that the eagles of war whose wings lent you glory, they were never no more than carry-on crows. Push the wrens from the nest, oh, their eggs change their story. The mockingbird sings it, it's all that she knows. Oh, what can I do? Say a powerless few with a lump in your throat and a tear in your eye. Can't you see that their poverty's profiting you? My country, 'tis of thy people you're dying.
Thank you, Sydney. We are a community. We come together, even when it's cold. We come together because we honor this community. Now is the time in our service when we greet one another. If you have made it here outside, or if you are joining us from home, Please refill your coffee, tuck your blanket around yourselves, and send a text to someone that you care about. Please be mindful of everyone's preferences for space and take your cue from the person you are approaching. If you don't want to greet someone, but you are sitting here this morning, I would like to remind you that one of the best ways to warm up is to move. So I'm going to suggest that everyone stand up. And if you don't want to greet someone, please walk hastily to the other side of the yard as though you have something to do, and then walk back to your seat.
For you after the service.
Oh, okay.
I think something that I heard that you did a long time ago.
Oh, okay, sure.
And yet they all knew what to do when I started playing that.
Yes. That's quite effective.
Takes a while, but
We are a community. Like any community made up of more than two people, we sometimes disagree. We sometimes have thoughts about going in one direction that are different than others. We sometimes can't figure out a way forward, and yet we always do. And we do that and the work that we do in this amazing congregation because we have decided how to be together in community. Please join me in saying our covenant, which is printed in your order of service, to remind each of us why we're here. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Before we enter our time of sharing, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Caroline Goodman, who is here to talk to us about our Share the Plate recipient, BRA Mentors.
You got both of those right. Good morning. My name is Caroline Goodman, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me to share a little bit with you about Brothers Restoring Urban Hope, or better known as BRA Mentor. I've been a supporter of BRA Mentor since it was a budding nonprofit organization running out of the garage of Victor Dura, the organization's co-founder, president, and executive director. Today they have an office on Kennedy Street. It's a beautifully painted office by Frankie Zombie, so I encourage you to go down right across the street from the library and check them out. BRA is a mentoring-based organization that is available for all students, regardless of socioeconomic status, past failures, family dynamics, or nationality. The staff and volunteers work incredibly hard to ensure that all the youth they serve have the opportunities and a chance for a bright future. As a friend of Victor Dura, I've seen him invest countless hours into the lives of young people and into this organization. Victor was a mentee himself, so he knows firsthand how having an encouraging person to walk alongside you, to guide you, and to challenge you can transform the trajectory of your life. That's what BRA was founded on, and that's what they strive to do. The people behind BRA strive to change the trajectory of a young person's life for the better. Victor has used his positive mentee experience and has put in place a program that multiplies. It's my hope that the students they are investing in today will do the same in the future, that they'll give back to their communities just the way BRA Mentor is giving back to Spartanburg County. I encourage you all to support this life-changing organization, not only today or at the Community Thanksgiving service on November 23rd, but as much as you're able to. Volunteer to become a mentor or partner with them, and get involved in making a positive difference in someone's life. On behalf of BRA Mentor, thank you very much for your gifts.
Thank you so much for joining us, Caroline. It is her first time visiting the UU. And I let her know that every service is always exactly different. We are a community. This is our time of sharing. We share our gifts, and as is the tradition in this congregation, we share our gifts with various agencies, this month being BRA Mentoring. Half of all funds collected and any designated funds will go to this very, very important organization. Please leave your gifts here as you come forward. This is also the time that we share with one another our joys, our sadness, our dreams, all that is in your heart. We have yet another astonishing rippling bowl here brought to us by Stacy. So please come forward and leave a stone or shell in the bowl representing what is on your heart today.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands of far and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the oceans, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Join me in silence. all that we have. Yesterday we shared our facility all day long with one of our community partners, Speaking Down Barriers. The event was a virtual event, but there was an in-person component, sharing food. There were tables set up in our fellowship hall with boxes of food laid out. It smelled so good. It smelled so good, and it was so wonderful to smell the smells in that fellowship hall, the good smells of food that we're so accustomed to before all of this. So good to smell that again. It's such a beautiful day. Cool and beautiful fall, and the warmth of people flowing in and out of this space. And during one of the breaks, one of the leaders of Speaking Down Barriers, a black woman, wandered into the sanctuary just to kind of step away from everybody else. And I was already in there hiding. And she started to walk down the display of art by Dr. Gary Snipes. Dr. Snipes died this week. Art of portraiture, portraits of social justice leaders from our nation's history. A very sincere and direct, in a way naive, but through the naivete, very honest presentation of these people to whom we owe so much in the ongoing transformation of our country. So these portraits of social justice leaders by an older white man who speaks about his identity and what it means for him to create this art in the presentation, in the show. And then this younger black woman leading an organization of transformation, taking a moment away from her own work to just encounter this that she's discovered, she's stumbled upon. And as she walked down the sanctuary wall looking at these portraits, she would say, "Oh wow, oh my God, this one is my favorite. No, this one is my favorite." You can see he really saw people. Two people who never met each other, who now live separated by the division between life and death, and who in this world were born into the world bearing markers of identity that made them in many ways polar opposites, truly representative of a binary, male and female, black and white, many other polarities into which we easily fall. But that honesty, that sincerity, that risking of a gift, the vulnerability to share, the willingness to come into a space and to be welcomed, to be a stranger, welcomed. Oh wow. Oh my God. Can tell he saw people. Experience of being seen across all of those divisions. Even the division of life and death. The term codependent arising is about as opaque and obscure as any theological term can be, and they all are. Interbeing, providence, grace. I had a professor who used to call these stained glass window words. They're so beautiful and nobody knows what the hell they mean. So our work is to really live, to make these things real, to not let our concepts interfere with the living them, the embodying them. The concept of codependent arising comes out of the Buddhist tradition, and it's just the idea that nothing exists without everything else. Everything is codependent in a good way. Everything arises out of existence because of everything else. It works like this. Think about what you had for breakfast this morning, or whenever you last ate. Just think about something that you just ate, and let it be something good. Think about that thing that you've taken into your body for energy, for fuel. Without that sustenance, you cease to exist. We don't exist without food coming into us. We depend on the existence of external sources of fuel to sustain our lives. And those sources of fuel, they come from somewhere too. So I ate a handful of nuts this morning. And think about the way that those come from seed. And not just seed, but also from the earth in which they were buried. Life coming out of burial. And the water that watered them, and the sun, the light of the sun that fueled them, allowed them to receive fuel and to grow. And then the hands that harvested them, hands that were fueled by other food and fueled by the light of the same sun that could harvest that produce and then package it and ship it and sell it and exchange money with me so that I could buy it, so that this morning I could eat something before I had to deal with y'all. All of that to sustain me, coming from so many other sources, and we could keep tracing it back. Any food that we eat, the water that we drink, all the places from which it flows, the way that the rain has fallen, the cycles of water falling and sustaining and then evaporating and then condensing again. Everything comprised of all of these other points. And if we take the logic far enough, if we use our critical minds sharply enough, if we're willing to face the bracing truth of our existence, if we have the courage to look at it, we realize we do not exist without the support of everything else. You could even say, I am everything except me. Everything that is has converged at this moment to make my life possible. I am everything except me. And when my life ends, my life will merge into whatever else, everything else. It's a startling and very challenging truth to reckon with, claim to reckon with. It has the effect of kind of pulling us apart into everything else, and only very vulnerably, with fragility, recomposing our sense of an individual self. We're part of everything that is. In the Buddhist tradition, and even more than in that, I hope just in our lives, to whatever degree we realize this, the goal of that insight is to make us grateful, to be thankful, and to honor the life of the cosmos around us, everything else that exists, because without it, we are not. Completely dependent on everything around us. You can see how that insight would engender within us not just compassion and mercy, but care and desire to sustain other life, to share. Thank goodness for the hands that have provided the food by the grace of which I live. Thank goodness for the grace of those hands. And the earth, and the waters, sun. Thank goodness for all of it. And may I also contribute well. the flow of life of which I am a part. Of course, we know that caring, sharing, it's not always what we choose. But if we live in this shared reality, whatever our own insights are, whatever our own frameworks are, whatever our stained glass windows are, if we're living in a shared cosmos, a shared world, a shared reality, then we're part of this flow of life, this interconnectedness, this interbeing, this positive codependence. And whether we choose sharing or something else, we're interacting with that web of life, that web of mutuality. And so our choices have effect, for good or for ill. There's a fascinating discussion this week, just in that room, the same room that smelled so good yesterday. There were a bunch of people in it on Wednesday night. I don't know how it smelled. But it was wonderful. The humanist meeting reconvened for the first time since the start of the pandemic. We're making our way forward and finding new steps with each other. And it was a full and wonderful gathering. And I loved it. I loved those gatherings. That is an expression of the critical mind, and it's such a crucial part of this fellowship. And in that gathering, we did that work. We're talking about Afghanistan. And just to get a glimpse, I can't possibly represent all that happened there, but just to get a glimpse, we had there a career military person, member of this congregation, beloved, speaking about his very complex experience in Afghanistan more than once, and acknowledging the moral complexity of that situation, and then, as happens in humanist meetings, opening for questions and questions that expand that view. So what we have is a conversation that's moving, considering what do you do when your nation has been attacked, 9/11, and you have a moral responsibility to defend your citizenship, and that course of action lands you in a very morally complicated, perhaps morally compromised, and extended 2-decade-long war. But you have a responsibility to do something. What do you do? Wrestling with that. And then encasing that, why are we in these fights in the first place? Why is our intervention in the Middle East over the last century resulting in this catastrophic war? And people honestly speaking with each other about this. Being civil, being kind, being compassionate, but not holding back on the thoughts. What a rare and amazing thing. I was so grateful to be sitting there, listening, to have my own difficult question seriously considered when I asked it. And in the course of that frank conversation about military-industrial complex and what it means to have a whole military establishment that is largely driven by profit motive, explicitly spoken about, dialogued about in this conversation. And the way that that destroys stories told about what happens when money is what we're going for, and the lives lost. 2 nations, and more than that, but 2 across the world, inextricably connected, but both deteriorated by that. We live in this shared reality of interconnectedness, of mutuality, this web of being of which we are necessarily a part, on which our very existence depends. And when the choices we make are greed and violence, the effect destroys, it tears apart. We can look at our own history, and we can see century after century, 500 years of acquisition and greed, exploitation of land and labor and people. And so much of what we deal with today is because of that. The destruction of lives. When we act without mindfulness of the way we are connected, it wreaks havoc. It tears down. You know, there is an answer to this. It's a simple answer that is dadgum hard to live. The opposite of greed is sharing. And I think it's telling, you know, that we teach our children to share, but then when we reach the point of getting jobs, a lot of that suddenly is lost because of the economic pressure that we're under in our society. We got to make it, and we got to make it over people. And suddenly those lessons about sharing are just for kids and not for us anymore. Think about this. This is not an explicit political statement, although if you take it that way, I won't mind. But think about any political ideology that's based on the idea of sharing. And just try to talk about it in a grocery store line around here. You laugh. You're laughing for some reason. You must know something that yeah. It's verboten. You can't do that, right? It's a terrible thing. The idea that we might organize ourselves around sharing. Think about how entrenched we are in a culture of greed. I know that's not all that we are living in. Look at this place. Think about the connections I've just talked about. But also think about the song that Sydney sang. I mean, who wants to listen to that song? Even when Sydney sings it. But we know it's true. The idea that sharing would somehow be able to change all that seems pretty childish. Pretty hopeless. But Gary Snipes died this week. Gary was a white man born of privilege. He's a doctor. He worked hard, but he knew the advantages that accrued to him because of his life in this country. He wrote about them. I'm not making this up. You can go read what he wrote after the service is over. And over the course of his career, caring for people, first through family practice, and then geriatric medicine and palliative care, he made the decision, a decision often unpopular with physicians, to become a hospice doctor, to care for people at the end of their life. A lot of doctors won't touch that because it feels like giving up, defeat, and that is not what it is, and that's not what Gary saw it to be. What he knew is that all of us will die. And so when that time comes, don't we all want someone who can help us do it as can be? Because it's hard work to die. It's not easy. And it helps to have a smart, compassionate person guiding us. And Gary did that. Cared for my mother-in-law. Cared for my grandfather. He cared for a lot of people and a lot of congregations that I've served. He cared for people that we know here. And this week he received extraordinary care from a team of nurses and doctors that he himself trained. What a gift. Can you imagine how hard that was for that team? But they gave it. So I was looking at Gary's show, his art of social justice, and thinking about all the people that he cared for. And thinking about 500 years, cycles of suffering that is our history of greed. Cycles of empire in this land and in others. The moral complexity in which we all find ourselves. What do we do when we realize this is the history in which we stand? And thinking about all the people that Gary cared for. All the different colors of their skin. All the different genders of their expression. All the different forms of family that each one had. Many different kinds of family. Loving family and strained family. Family that other people wouldn't even call family because they don't know what they're talking about. Because those are families. there to care for each one of those people. And reading in their lives and on their bodies the marks of our history: chronic disease, hunger, abuse, racialized stressors, and the weathering that bodies succumb to over time because of that. Marks of physical violence, marks of war. Think of the way our history of greed shows itself on the bodies of our neighbors and ourselves. The way it takes life. And Gary deciding to be as aware of that as possible and to care for every single person who came to his hands. He couldn't turn back history. And he couldn't change the cycle for all of us forever. But he decided to look straight into reality as clearly as he could and to share himself. To share himself. To bring peace, some measure of healing to each one of those wounded bodies and wounded souls, person after person after person, so that at the end of their life of whatever, loss, violence, neglect, ignorance, whatever marked each person, their last experience on this earth would be compassion. Think of the gift. Think of the power of that. Think about having this tall, lanky, super awkward, absolutely brilliant as a sun, white guy who could stare into the reality of your life shared with his and help you finally find peace. Nothing childish about that. We are connected to each other inextricably. Everything that we have, our possessions, our identities, our bodies, our lives, everything we have depends on everything else. And no matter what we choose, that connection pertains. No matter our thought, we live that shared reality. And what we send through it, violence, greed, compassion, whatever it is we choose to share, it has real effect in the world. It matters. These cycles of history seem overwhelming. What the hell can we do? That man gave peace and love to the last moment on earth of thousands of people. We can damn well choose that too.
God bless America. I hope that it's true. What I'm reading online, what I see on the news, looks like a war. Dogs out for blood. Who's right and who's wrong? They can't get enough. I will not bow my head, I will not bend my knee to a false god's rage or fear of tyrant kings. I love you 'cause you're human and we can all live free. I love you 'cause you're human. What if it's true that none of this matters? Our hopes and our dreams, our tears and our laughter. If there's not a plan and it's all an illusion, then why are we here? What's it mean to be human? I will not bow my head, I will not bend my knee to a false god's wrath or fear of tyrant kings. I love you 'cause you're human and we can all live free. There is no us versus them, there is just you and me. We're born, we live, we die, and I have to believe that we can make it better and we can all live free. I believe it matters to me. I will not bow my head, I will not bend my knee to a false god's rage and a fear of tyrant kings. I love you 'cause you're human and we can all be free. I love you 'cause you're human. We're just human.
Hear these words again from Martin Luther King Jr., a network of mutuality. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
We discover ourselves in the web of life. Soldiers in Afghanistan, military contractors, doctors, nurses, students, citizens of an empire in all but name. Whoever we are, we find ourselves in moral complexity and vast cycles of violence. All that we have, share with all of that and watch it change.